Hello, my fellow classmate and also Ibu Christine. My name is Garizi Matindi. It is very nice to see you again after 1 week of holiday. Allow me to present, explain, and also discuss about another framework of SLA titled Auto Learning is Mediated and also Embodied. This is from John Kelly Hall from her fifth chapter from her book titled Essential of SLA for L2 Learners in Transdisciplinary Framework. Let me start with introducing who John Kelly Hall. She is a professor of applied linguistics and director of the Centers of Research on English Language Learning and Teaching from Pennsylvania State University. Okay, let me start with the outline of this chapter. There will be first some overview related to auto learning is mediated, related to mediation, and also language socialization. It is about the concept and research, particularly in L1 language socialization. Next one is the indexicality. This is another concept of language socialization. Next one is L2 socialization, particularly related to adolescent and also adult, learning how to mean. This is the way language is being developed by learning, by the word learn, by the term learning. And also mediational means there are several resources will be explained in the for the L2 learning. Okay, next is some overview related to language is mediated. The term mediation is defined as the action to accomplish of the work of cognitive processes of learners. In the case of language learning, it means that the language cognitive processes of the language learners. The resources of mediation of is what is it consists of two groups. The first one is social cultural group. The second one is social institution. The social cultural group includes families, friends, and neighborhood. Social institution includes schools, workplaces, recreational clubs, and so on. Perhaps you are familiar with this kind of resources of mediation because language is mediated or mediation is related to the meso level of social cultural institution and communities, and also related to the social identities that will be explained in the next meeting. The next one is the process of mediation. It is related to the language socialization, the way language is being socialized. Okay, the language socialization, there are several notions about language socialization. The first one is the theory and the concept of it. There are several of theory and concepts, but I will only take one significant theory from Himes, 1974. He stated that social function gives form to the ways in which linguistic features are encountered in actual life. This is related to the interrelation between linguistic form and also social function. It means that when learners want to enhance their linguistic features, they have to also engage the social function in their actual life so that it can form the linguistic features on their actual life. The previous studies of the language socialization is famous from Ox and also Shibbolin in 1984, 1986, and 1988, and also 2008. They consistently conducted the study about language engagement between children and also caregivers. This is also part of their study about children's language development, and the result turned out that children can interpret linguistic resources for meaning making as well as understand the appropriateness of the resources and the value for self and other expressions. So it means that the language development is embedded and also constitutive to the process of becoming socialized from the learners so that the learners can become a competent participant in the communication because it is related with the appropriateness and also the valuing self and also others. The process of language socialization is the learners are socialized into their activities and semiotic resources used to accomplish the activities through more experienced member assistances and helping learners to use the resource on their own. There are 3 points. highlighted in this process of language socialization. First one is the learners should be into the activities themselves itself, and the second one is the semiotic resources used, and the third one is the assistance from the experienced members. These 3 points should be part of the process of language socialization to make the L2 learning become successful. The objective of the language socialization is to make the development of language is to be intertwined with the development of social and cultural knowledge. So it should be that the development, when developing the language, the learners also develop their social and cultural knowledge. Okay, that is the language socialization. Now we come to the indexicality. This is another core of language socialization, another core concept, sorry. Indexicality is a phenomenon whereby a real word uses semiotic resources index or invoke particular meanings depending on their context of use. So the semiotic resources used by the learners is used to index or to invoke to certain meanings depending to the context of the use. There are two dimensions of indexicality. The first one is social act or social context, and the second one is social identities that can be invoked from their indexicality when they use some phrases or some expressions in the communication. And because indexicality is also related to the viewpoints of the learners of or the speakers or the writers, uh, what is it? It also embedded to the stance. There are two macro categories of stances in indexicality of language socialization. The first one is affective stance, and the second one is the epistemic stance. Affective stance indicate the emotional positions of the speakers or the writers. Epistemic stance, on the other hand, is related to the knowledge concerning the reality to the contents of the speech or the expression itself. Let me go with the examples of the indexicality, like how are you versus hey ma'am. They have the same, almost the same meaning. They have this is about greetings to other, but they are different in the social context or social identities. How are you is used for formal, social, or professional settings, and it is identified the adult participants. This invoke the adult participant identities, and it is also used for formal stance. And hey man is for used for informal settings and likely for young adult identity. It likely invoke young adult identities. Okay, that's the indexicality. This is concept of one of the concept of the language socialization. The other notions of socialization is the L2 socialization, because even though L1 and L2 are interrelated, but when it comes to the L2 socialization, it is a different case, because L2 learners who are commonly adult and adolescents possess diverse repertoire of semiotic resources, cultural tradition, and also community affiliation. Because they have L2 learning using different semiotic resources, different community affiliation, and also tradition. Perhaps it makes L2 socialization becomes more difficult, becomes more complex than the L1. And L2 learners also bring different motivation and aspiration for learning another language. So beside the external issue, it is also, so L2 socialization also what is it, concern with the internal issues, that is motivation and also aspirations for learning another language. Okay. L2 socialization in formal learning context can create hybrid identities, hybrid practices, and also hybrid values, and leads to incomplete and partial appropriations of L2. This concludes why L2 learning is more difficult than the L1 learning, because they are different in semiotic resources, different in community affiliation, different motivation, different aspiration, and also a different learning context. Okay, that is the L2 socialization. Now let's move on to the learning how to mean. We are going to see the definition, the context of the learning and learning language. From Halliday, 1993, learning is a semiotic process of how to make meaning with language is the prototypical form of human semiotic. It means that when we learn the language, when we have language learning, it means we are not only learning about the language itself, but also learning about the foundation of the learning. So when we so the language development, not what is it in language learning, the ones who which is developed is not only about the language but also the learning itself. So that's the advantage of learning the language. Okay, from this learning how to mean and also L2 socialization, Halliday also create a framework called systemic functional linguistic from in 1994. This is a framework to seek the different purposes for which language forms are used within and across textual context. This is about the way we see different diverse of the semiotic resources in learning a language. The common questions from this framework is why a tag means, what it does, and why it is valued as it is. The examples of the research related to the systemic functional linguistic are usually really about genre-based pedagogy, and also other kinds of semiotic resources research. Okay. Now let's move on to the highlights of this chapter. Learning is mediated and embodied. There are two theories of this. What is it? Learning is mediated and embodied. The first one is from Vygotsky, 1981. Socialization is the key to language development, so language development cannot be separated from socialization. In 1989, Vygotsky also add that the development proceed from individual mind towards individualization of social function and transform into psychological function. So it means when learners tries to develop their linguistic features, they have to also engage the social function. From the social function, it can change into the psychological function. So that's the way the language, their L2 language, is developed. Another theory about learning is mediated and embodied is from Lantov, 2000, the importance of semiotic resources. So the semiotic resources serve to regulate and also mediate learners, developing understanding of their words, their relationship with others, and their own mental processes. So the functions of the semiotic resources not only mediate but also to regulate what kind of the knowledge of language that can be developed for the learners, and also to seek the relationship, the development of the relationship development from the learners to other members in the community, and also to enhance their own mental processes. And then this is the mediational means. What I understand from mediational means is the same with the semiotic resources. So mediational means is every semiotic resources to use for making meaning of social patterns and the knowledge. The means here refers to awaken what is already in the mind of individuals, enhance and otherwise fix the course of development, fundamentally shape and transform it. We have to go back to the definitions that the notions that L2 and L1 cannot be separated, and L2 repertoire is supported from the L1 repertoire as well. And this mediational means enhance, fix the course of development, and also shape and transform the L1 repertoire to the L2 linguistic features. Mediational means are the design tools. We know that this is a tools. The mediational means are tools of our social activity, and we use them to instantiate or represent or remember our involvement in what kind of involvement that we take part in the communities. That is mediational means. There are a lot of mediational tools. Actually, every semiotic resources can be used for mediational tools. Everything can be used for mediational tools. The first one, computational resources like computers and calculators. Yes, computer can be used as the semiotic resources to develop our L2, to make our language being socialized and to develop our L2 repertoire. Graphic resources like diagrams, maps, and drawing, artifacts and tools like books, clocks, hammers, writing system, and devices, physical objects and spatial arrangement like classroom, homes, and etc., environmental structures like road signs, traffic lights, and street guide, and embodied resources like gesture, facial expressions, gaze, body movements, and also postures, and so on. Let me have another article, research article related to embodied resources to make our discussions deeper about, especially related to the embodied resources. So this article is from Leila Kanta, 2012, titled Teachers Embodied Allocations in Instructional Interaction. This is about the way the teachers make turn-taking allocation using embodied resources in their classroom interaction. This is the research notion of it. I will only give a brief discussions only to this article. Perhaps we will get a deeper discussions about embedded resources in classroom interactions. The breakdown of the study is that the only few studies focus on teacher turn allocation using embodied interaction and institutional setting. It means there are a lot of research related to turn taking allocation, but only few of them are using the embodied resources. So that is why the aim of the study is to examine the teachers' turn allocation practices employing embodied resources such as gazing, head nods, pointing gesture, and classroom interaction. There are 45 lessons taken as the data. They are from video recorded classroom corpus of English section in Department of Language in University of Jyväskylä, Finland. The method of study is using conversation analysis. So the writer analyzes the conversations from the videotapes, and the writers analyze it using IRA sequences: initiation, response, and evaluation. The way the teachers initiate, the way the students respond, and the way both teachers and students evaluate their turn-taking allocation processes. Okay, this is the result of the articles. The teachers' embodied actions are meaningful interactional resources in turn-taking and student participation. It turns out that the research, the process of turn-taking allocation using embodied gesture are successful, and that embodied resources employed in three construction. The first one is address terms or other verbal formulation. Address terms like calling the name, and then verbal formulations like asking the question. Discourse particles and also vocalizations such as acclamation like so, yes, and then non-verbal elements. And it means there is no verbal formulations there, only using gazing, pausing, and also leaning towards some direction, towards students' direction. And then teachers successfully allocate response turns to students through embodied allocation in multi-context. So in one classroom interaction, when using different embodied resources, they can also have different context allocated in the classroom interaction. And also teachers are able to use diverse semiotic resources in the locally suited context to shape the interaction. So in one classroom, teachers can use multiple semiotic resources, multimodality resources to have locally suited context in the classroom interaction. Okay, that is my explanations related to the articles. Now let me go to the conclusions from the chapters and also from the articles. The first one is, though L1 is surely tied to children language socialization, the process and outcomes for adolescent and adult for L2 socialization are more complex than L1, considering the wide-ranging multilingual and multimodal activities from the L2 learners. Indexicality, mediation, mediational means or mediational tools are useful for understanding the links between the meanings of semiotic resources and their context of use. Embodied resources are well suited for classroom settings to involve interactional effort for both teachers and students. So it is useful to use embodied resources in classroom interactions. Bodily, visual, behavior figures in human interaction can perform different types of intimacy, pairs, and sequential organization. we can have more than one organizations by only using bodily visual behavior figures in our classroom. I think that is the end of my explanation, my presentation related to language is mediated and also embodied. Uh, Now I would like to hear your interesting L2 experiences, not only as the learner but also as the teacher. The first one from your L2 socialization experience when you get your L2 uh, repertoire. And here I focusing on the English. What will be your favorite mediational means or mediational tools that successfully develop your L2 repertoire? Which one is your favorite? Which one that you think that, okay, that is the semiotic resource, that is mediational means that can relate me to my English, to my L2 repertoire? And then tell me your most reliable embodied resources. It can be gazing, body movement, or other verbal or non-verbal formulation that you commonly use when teaching to enhance your students' participation, and please include the purpose behind it. Thank you very much for your attention. See you everyone.